Hello YouTube, this is Christopher Jones, also known as Savior20061, and I'm doing another little catch-up book review while I'm trying to slog my way through The Rainbow by D.H. Lawrence. It's still pretty good, it's still kind of a tough thing to read. And my review for this time, the book is like a real good one. It's another Stephen King book. I'm a Stephen King fan, so sue me. And the book is one of his classics, Stephen King's The Stand. And it's got a little horseman that I don't know why this horseman's here because he wasn't in the book. I guess this is supposed to be the pale horse, the pale rider on a pale horse that was referenced in the movie. Actually, not a movie, but a TV series thing, miniseries. I don't know what they were doing. Anyway, this is one of the best books I've ever read. Obviously, this is one of the best books that a lot of people have actually read. This is better than sliced bread. This is better than underwear. This is better than Mario Party 3. I don't know if I can say this is better than Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, because that was a pretty good game, but this is one of the best freaking books Stephen King has ever made. The plot, needless to say, is epic. It's about Captain Trips at first, and Captain Trips is super influenza, basically. It's like the flu, except you can't beat it. Every time your immune system shapeshifts to form a defense, the super flu will have changed its antigens to a completely different thing, so now the defense system of your body cannot even see it anymore. And it just keeps doing that until you lose. It's like a soldier that keeps flanking you from different areas. He shoots you in Black Ops, Call of Duty Black Ops, you respawn, then he shoots you again. That's what it is. It's pretty awesome. And, well, by awesome I mean bad, I guess, but the story is awesome. And the story is about that at first, and the fact that multiple characters are obviously immune to these effects. Stu Redman, Francis Goldsmith, Harold Lauder, Lloyd Heinried, and of course the evil character Randall Flagg, who I will discuss later. The characters, well, I should still keep talking about the plot, I guess. The plot, it actually transforms from the survivors of the super flu to building civilization all over again. We have two groups of people. We have a group of people that actually band around a woman called, what was her name? I can't even remember her name. She's an old black lady, but she's nice, and she's really sweet, and she believes in God, and so she is too much of a magical Negro character, but she's not as bad as, say, John Coffey from The Green Mile. She does have a lot of the magical Negro characteristics for which Stephen King has become somewhat infamous because he does them too much. She does have a background, unlike John Coffey for the most part. She does have emotions, she does have pride, so she's not that much of a magical Negro character, but she has these magical psychic abilities, this connection with God, which is not ever really completely explained. She's like a medium, I guess. What was her name? Abigail Fremantle. That was her name. She's nice. I liked her. Anyway, the good guys band around her. The bad guys band around this total jerk known as Randall Flagg. If you saw my review for Swan Song, one thing about the character, the villains are actually very similar, with one exception. In Swan Song, the character was almost like the devil. Some people thought he was a devil. He was never actually named. He never had a name. He called himself Friend, whatever that means. And Friend did not have a goal. All Friend cared about was actually just ruining other people's lives. After the atomic holocaust, he just convinced people to eat their own fingernails. He convinced them to eat their own children, and he killed people whenever he wanted. And he seemed to be content with just eradicating all hope in the world. He is what is known as chaotic evil. He doesn't have a set goal. He wants to cause as much pain as possible for the hell of it. Randall Flagg, the villain of The Stand, is completely different. He is lawful evil. Lawful evil is like Hitler, is like Stalin, is like any other dictator in history. He's a jerk, but he wants to play by the rules. His rules. And throughout the book, that's good. And eventually, the two groups become aware of each other, and they understand that they have to deal with each other. Randall Flagg's group, which is headquartered in Las Vegas, they say, you know what, we're just gonna blow them up. We got Apaches, we got flame tanks, we got nukes, we're just gonna blow them up, and it's gonna be like that. Abigail Fremantle's group is somewhat different. They take a very unique approach to dealing with a threat, and it's very interesting. I don't want to spoil it, even though the story is actually, like 40 years old? But it's so good, I don't want to spoil it anyway. That's how good it is. The characters are probably some of the best characters I've read in Stephen King literature. Stu Redman, he's a classic good guy. Nick Andros, he's a classic smart guy. Frances Goldsmith is essentially supposed to be the audience surrogate. She says what the reader would be thinking at the time. Almost like a moral conscience, but not quite. And then there's Harold Lauder. Harold Lauder is one of my favorite characters in Stephen King literature. Essentially, he's a dork. He's a dork who has a crush on Frances Goldsmith, and that for a while that's all it is. Except Frances Goldsmith gets involved with Stuart Redman, even though she knows that Harold Lauder likes her, and that kind of pisses him off a little bit. And a great deal of, I want to say a fraction of the story, actually concerns with him dealing with it, and he doesn't deal with it that well. Stephen King really gets into the head of Harold Lauder as he deals with the issue of whether or not he's going to kill these people who have kind of screwed him over. And he is probably, Harold Lauder is probably in Avatar a surrogate for Stephen King, because Stephen King was kind of a dork, and a lot of dorks have to go through with that. I've had to go through with that. Dealing with women that, they don't like it that much. They like this other guy. And your issues, and the resulting anger with dealing with all that crap. He doesn't make the right choice in the book. I actually will say that Harold Lauder does not make the right choice. He's a very tragic character. He's like Oedipus Rex, if you've ever read that book. It's like that. And the climax is fairly epic. Fairly epic. I'm not going to spoil that for you either. And oh my god, basically it involves a nuke, and yes, it blows up, and yes, it's awesome. And oh my god, the book was so awesome. And there's nothing much left for me to say at this point, except that Combat, you've got to pick up this book. If you like Swan Song, You're gonna like this book because it's like Swan Song, except it's not as depressing as Swan Song. Swan Song was kind of depressing. The only thing I think would be more depressing is actually reading Hunger Games and watching all these kids just stab each other to death in a stadium for the pleasure of for the pleasure of an audience, and it's all screwed up, and the movie almost made me cry. That's not important. What's important is combat, fighting dog, oops saw. You got to get this book. I give it a 10 out of 10 stars, a 5 out of 5 score card, whatever. I don't care. It's a good book. Pick it up, man. Pick it up.